Welcome to Shed the Debt. I'm Patty Levitt-Reed. We're going to talk about consumer proposals today. We're going to delve a little deeper. What are they? Who would be appropriate for one? I'm joined by Sabrina Clarke. She's the head of consumer proposals for Goldhar Associates. Obvious question off the top then, Sabrina. What is a consumer proposal?
Okay, so basically a consumer proposal is you're proposing an offer to your creditors. It's not the full amount of debt, but it's a percentage of the debt that you're willing to pay back over a course of a 16-month term. It could be shorter depending on the circumstance of the debtor. However, it's just a way of utilizing that debt, shrinking it to pay it off over a certain period of time.
So who decides, and I'm assuming that's once you've gathered all the data, how much of the debt that I owe am I actually proposing to them that I will be prepared to pay?
Right. So who decides will be the consultant. However, it does factor in your income and what your expenses are and what you can manage to pay your creditors throughout the course of a month, versus because you do have other expenses as well.
Right.
So income is a major factor as well.
Now, what I've heard is if you're paying a percentage back, the interest clock stops.
Yes.
So you're not getting further and further behind by paying a lesser amount. The interest stops, you have a fixed amount that you owe, and you pay a percentage of that.
Yes. So, and also to point out, consumer proposals only debts up to $250,000.
Okay.
Yes. So that amount, yes, it is a cutoff based on the Ontario Superintendent Bankruptcy. That's what the guidelines are. Requirements for a consumer proposal.
So if you owe more than that, you may not be going the route of consumer proposal. It could lead to bankruptcy.
It could lead to bankruptcy, or it could lead to a Division 1 proposal, which is more of a debts over $250,000.
Okay, so there are options. That's the important part. I think when people feel like they're overwhelmed with the amount of debt they have, they don't know the options that are available to them. But Sabrina, there's a lot going on. Interest rates have been challenging for households. Inflation still stubbornly high for everyday goods. When I think about job security threatened, and we could talk about down the road, what if tariffs really come into play and what that will mean to people. So tell me about what you do and when it comes to you when someone has a problem.
Sure. So I focus on once the proposal is filed with the OSB, the government. I focus on, just administering the estate, just making sure that the debtor is up to date with their payments. If they have any issues with creditors, I deal with that. For any other thing, like when it comes to credit scores, I know credit scores are like a very much of a thing. Obviously it's going to have a negative impact initially. However, sometimes they are not prepared for that negative impact, and I kind of have to smooth it over with them and explain how it works in the process down the road within the proposal.
Are people hesitant to come forward? What are some of the signs that someone should be seeking help?
One, they are hesitant. Sometimes it could just feel embarrassing at first. The signs when you feel that you should, consult a professional is where you're just head over water, where your head is over water with debt. You're making your minimum payments, but you don't seem to getting ahead because a lot of the time these creditors have these high interest rates and you're just paying the interest on these debts and you're not getting anywhere.
So you really are not making any progress. Your head is underwater. You don't think there's any opportunity to get out. They pick up the phone, you answer their call. And so what starts the ball rolling?
Well, I typically don't answer their call. We do have we call it our like frontline staff where
They do.
they do the initial process and the consultation. Everyone is different, so every debtor is going to have their own circumstances surrounding their debt. So we have to, analyze and just to see what their options are for the individual.
Do you think a consumer proposal is underutilized right now by Canadians?
I do think it's underutilized. However, we have made a vast amount of progress throughout the last couple of years. I just find now people are more, they're more, I would say, known to it, is more known other than a bankruptcy, because usually bankruptcy is what someone would typically go for first rather than a consumer proposal. It's more known now for the last couple of years.
Do you think there have been misconceptions about a consumer proposal? If you have a lot of debt, your only solution is bankruptcy, and that isn't the only solution.
Right. And there are many misconceptions with that. It's just a lack of knowledge, I would say.
What would be some of those misconceptions in case somebody's watching you right now and may not even realize this is an option?
When it comes to, they compare it a lot with debt consultants, basically where you take out a loan or just trying to take out a loan just to cover that particular debt. Consumer proposals don't work that way. Yeah. They're more so, yes, you have your debt.
Versus like a consolidation loan.
Consolidation loan.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So versus that, once you come through us, we analyze your debt. Based on that, you could propose an offer to your creditors.
You do. They don't.
The debtor, yeah. So with the help of the administrator, the debtor will propose an offer to their creditors. A lot of factors will include their income, their expenses. So all of that does have to factor in to determine what they can propose, what they can offer on a monthly basis.
So once you've gone through that, I have actually witnessed after the intake form happens and maybe the proposal is put forward, that financial literacy, so you presumably and hopefully don't go down that path again. That's a requirement.
It is. It is a major requirement. There are 2 mandatory sessions someone must have while within the consumer proposal. It's important because without those counseling sessions, yes, you could make all your payments with a proposal, but once your proposal is finished and you didn't do your mandatory counseling sessions, that is grounds for not to be discharged. So they are mandatory and they're very helpful.
And they are. But I see sometimes there's hesitancy. People reschedule, they don't necessarily follow through. Do we actually see a change in behavior?
We do, because right now, we're not judging them, first of all. Right? Judging.
Education.
Exactly. We don't make it feel like we're judging them. It's based on their circumstances, what works for them, because everybody else is different. So we cater to what would work for you in your circumstance just to help you, manage and maintain and stay on a great path.
Do you see any changes coming to this process? Are there any regulatory issues that we should know about?
Changes, they haven't been much changes over the years. Pretty much with the rules and regulations are pretty much the same. I know with the OSB, they will have their, they will send down things throughout, especially with the debt consultants and whatnot. And they're kind of frowned upon. They rather, consult an actual trustee first versus going to them, because we're the ones who actually have to file with the government, get your estate number in, and
It's fairly regulated. So when you talk about the OSB, you're talking about the Office of the Superintendent of Bankruptcy. So there are rules and regulations that protect everyone's interest. And yes, there may be a fee, but that's also part of the process.
Right.
And at the end of this, do you see repeat offenders?
Yes, unfortunately, there are times where we find repeat offenders, and that's only because within that process, they go into more debt. My job is to not have them go into more debt while within the consumer proposal. I try my best not to. I do have clients where it comes to me where they're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. But, I try to explain to them, my job is not for you to go into more debt. It's for you to stay out of it and keep out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And how does that impact their credit rating once they go through a consumer proposal?
so the credit rating will have a negative impact. However, it's not as severe as a bankruptcy. And it's only a temporary while within the consumer proposal. Even a couple, maybe, because there's 60 months within the consumer proposal. So maybe a year into it, you can actually start seeing a vast difference in your credit score because a lot of the times, they can obtain another credit card, but that's only to help them boost and, maintain like a good standing.
Like pay it off each month.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Something just to help boost, because obviously while within the consumer proposal, you are stagnant for a little bit, but it's only temporary.
Sabrina, what do you want to leave people who are watching you with right now if they have signs that they're borrowing from one credit card to pay off another? They can't make payments, period. They're not opening their bills. They're not accepting calls from anyone.
Right. If they're not accepting calls from anyone, if it gets to that point, seek a professional help. Basically, what I mean is sometimes if you go to a friend or relative, they may not just have the education that you may need. So there's always just to seek someone in the profession just to get a more knowledgeable answer rather than someone biased, friend or family.
Mm-hmm. They think they know, but they don't. My last question to you is there a fee? Like, let's say somebody's thinking to themselves right now, they're watching you and thinks, I need to go through this consumer proposal. I want to come out with a fresh start. Is there a fee up front or only after?
There's no fees up front. It's only after once the debtor has filed, which is a good thing, because the purpose is not to take money from you initially. Like the purpose is to, start you off on a good foot. So we don't take any fees up front. Once you filed your proposal and your payments begin, then your payments are associated with.
I was only kidding when I said that was my last question. The minute I decide to call you, and I want to explore this further, how long does it take from that call, because I'm desperate today, to start the ball rolling on a consumer proposal?
Honestly, that all depends on the debtor. Okay. It depends on how soon they could provide the information we require, how soon they can act and take the initiative on their own debt, because there's only so much we can do. The debtor has to put forth the effort as well.
So it truly is a partnership.
Correct, yes.
Okay, Sabrina, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I have been joined by Sabrina Clarke. She is the head of consumer proposals for Goldhar Associates. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.